The world of Fenris is one of the most infamous and notorious death worlds to exist within the Imperium of Man, serving as the home world for the Space Wolves chapter of the Adeptus Astartes. The world is plagued with numerous environmental extremes, such as prolonged and bitterly cold winters that can freeze entire oceans, as well as scorching summers brought about as a result of extreme volcanic activity. The world is also geographically unstable, resulting in continuously shifting land masses, fluctuating sea levels, and archipelagos that can be destroyed as swiftly as they are created. Only the continent of Azerheim, which is situated at the world's north pole, remains tectonically secure and tidally landlocked at all times. In addition to this geographical instability, the world of Fenris is also home to some of the deadliest creatures that exist within the galaxy, such as giant wolves, ice mammoths, and kraken. While Fenris may seem utterly inimical to human life, the various environmental factors of the world have forged the people of Fenris into a strong and resilient breed that endure lives of constant hardship and strife, with the numerous tribes regularly coming into conflict with one another over the acquisition of resources and territory. Despite their harsh and often violent lives, or perhaps even because of it, the people of Fenris have developed a culture that is highly spiritual and superstitious. The native Fenrisians pay worship to an entire pantheon of gods, which are known in their tongue as the Aesir. These gods include the world of Fenris itself, known to the population as Mother Fenris, a two-headed wolf said to guard the gates of death named Morkai, and even the Emperor of Mankind, who is known to the Space Wolves in particular by the title of Allfather. Those who die a coward's death, such as by succumbing to old age, are said to be condemned to spend eternity within the halls of a figure known as the Earl King. One belief held by the people of Fenris is that somewhere there exists an enchanted tree which is known simply as the Tree of Life. It is believed that the fruits of this tree are imbued with magical energies that are capable of curing any illness, purging any form of corruption, and healing any wound, no matter how severe, thereby restoring a man to the peak of their physical conditioning. When Leman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves, chose to abandon his gene sons and journey into the depths of the warp space rift known as the Eye of Terror, many within the chapter would come to the conclusion that Russ had embarked upon a quest in search of this Tree of Life. Some of the chapter's warriors maintain that their Primarch intends on harvesting the fruit of this tree in order to heal the Emperor of the wounds that have been inflicted upon him by the arch-traitor Horus Rubicante, and restore the Master of Mankind to glory so that he may lead his Imperium into a new and glorious Golden Age. But could this fabled Tree of Life actually exist? Potentially, yes. It is well known that within the depths of warp space, various emotions and beliefs can over time begin to coalesce and combine with one another, where they will continue to grow in power, even to the point of obtaining some degree of consciousness. One of the most famous examples in this regard is that of the chaos god Slanesh, who came into existence as a result of the hedonistic actions of the ancient Aeldari Empire. Another more recent example, as detailed within the novel War of Secrets, is that of the so-called God of the Greater Good, a godlike entity that was created as a result of the more psychically sensitive races of the Tau Empire, such as humans and Nikasar, beginning to effectively worship the very concept of the Tau Va as a religious doctrine. In the case of the latter, such a being had been brought into existence relatively quickly, with the process taking somewhere between a mere 2,000 to 4,000 years to accomplish. Since the concept of the Tree of Life has been ingrained within Fenrisian mythology for at least 10,000 years by the time of Russ's disappearance, then it certainly seems feasible to assume that such an entity could very well exist somewhere within the depths of warp space. However, a more interesting possibility is that the Tree of Life already exists, although instead of being a literal tree, the name is a symbolic title that the Fenrisians had ascribed to an already existing deity. As it stands, there currently exists an entity that, much like the Tree of Life, has the ability to cure any illness and heal any affliction, and much like a tree, this being currently resides within a garden. Isha, the goddess of healing and the mythical mother of the Aeldari race. Of all the members of the Aeldari pantheon, Isha is one of only 3 gods to have survived the events of the Fall, a cataclysm that occurred with the awakening of Slaanesh. The Chaos God would proceed to devour most of the Aeldari gods, with only Isha, Chogorak, the Laughing God, and Kayla Menshikane, the God of War, escaping total destruction. According to legend, when Slaanesh attempted to consume Isha, the god of pestilence and disease, Nurgle, would respond to her pleas for aid, defeating Slaanesh in battle before claiming the goddess as both a trophy and companion. The Plague God would then proceed to lock Isha away within a cage located within his Garden of Rot, and would show his adoration towards the goddess by testing his new concoctions upon her in order to see how long it would take for Isha to purge herself of their corruption. Should Nurgle be pleased with his creation, then he will unleash it upon the material realm. If the Plague God remains unsatisfied, however, then he will continue in his work, allowing Isha to take advantage of her would-be husband's distraction by whispering the secrets of curing the various diseases that she had tasted into the minds of mortals. It is important to note, as documented within the 4th edition Demon's Codex, Isha is said to be granting these cures to all mortals, meaning that her knowledge is being gifted to not only the Aeldari, but also the Tau, humanity, and the many other sentient races that inhabit the galaxy. While Isha may not have been described as being a literal tree, the goddess is associated with plant life and new growth in addition to healing. The flowers known as the Roses of Isha, for example, as shown within the audio drama Hand of Darkness, was said to grow wherever the goddess herself walked, blossoming due to her mere presence. As a result of her ability to cure any form of sickness and corruption, combined with being symbolically associated with plant growth and new life coming into bloom, then perhaps Isha herself is the very Tree of Life from Fenrisian mythology. After all, there have been a number of documented instances where different races will share similar, if not an outright identical pantheon of gods or other such figures of belief. For example, the gods worshipped by the Xenos race known as the Hrud, as documented within the book Xenology, are themselves highly reminiscent of those depicted within Aeldari mythology. These include a horned hunter similar to Kurnos, the Aeldari god of the hunt, who is known to be associated with creatures like stags, a red-handed warrior reminiscent of the war god Kayla Menshikane, who is commonly referred to as the bloody-handed god, a jester evocative of the laughing god Chogorak, and a smith god comparable to Vol, the god of the forge. Given the fact that Fenris is situated in close proximity to the Eye of Terror, which prior to its creation was where the heart of the ancient Aeldari Empire was situated, it is always possible that, at some point in time, perhaps during the ancient past, Fenris itself had been briefly visited by the Aeldari. While the reasons for such a visit may range anywhere from simple exploration or xenological studies, the race could have maintained a presence for just long enough to leave a mark upon the world in some way. What few traces of the Aeldari that may have remained could have been discovered by those humans that first settled upon Fenris during the Dark Age of technology, which in turn could have influenced their mythology and folklore, as the colonists degenerated into a more feral and primitive society. While this is admittedly somewhat unlikely, it is at the very least minutely possible. Regardless of there being a legitimate connection between the Aeldari and Fenris itself, since Leman Russ is currently navigating the depths of warp space along with his personal honor guard, then there does exist a distinct possibility that the Primarch may very well discover the location of the Garden of Nurgle, and within it, Isha herself. The idea of Russ entering Nurgle's garden is not entirely without precedent, as others have managed to make their way into this blighted realm. Not only would the Aeldari faction known as the Inari conduct a raid upon the garden in hopes of reaching the plague planet of Mortarion, but even Genestealer cults have managed to make their way into Nurgle's domain, although purely by chance. Perhaps at some point during his journey, Russ may encounter the Harlequins of the Frozen Star, for as detailed within the 8th edition Harlequin Codex, this particular group of Harlequins also seek to free Isha from her bondage. Since the goals of Russ and the Frozen Star seem to overlap, then it seems only logical for the two factions to aid each other in their mutual goals, especially given that they both share a common enemy in the Forces of Chaos. Should Russ reach the Garden of Nurgle and discover the location of Isha, then perhaps the goddess may be willing to make a bargain with Russ in hopes of escaping from Nurgle's clutches. Perhaps in return for the Primarch's aid, Isha would agree to heal the Emperor of the many wounds and agonies that he had suffered from over the millennia, and restore him from his state of undeath. Of all the godlike entities that currently exist within the Warp, Isha would most certainly appear to be the one most likely to aid humanity in performing such an act, so that the Master of Mankind can continue in his war against the ruinous powers. After all, Isha, unlike the majority of gods known to exist, is a truly benevolent deity, as shown with the fact that she grants the cures to Nurgle's various creations to all of the galaxy's races. But a few questions remain which need to be asked. Could Leman Russ and those that accompany him, be they Space Wolf or Harlequin, succeed in freeing the Goddess of Healing from her cage? Could the Primarch even survive within the hellish environment that is Nurgle's realm, and would such a quest lead to Russ facing off against his corrupted brother, the Demon Primarch Mortarion? If any one man has a chance to accomplish such seemingly impossible feats, it would most certainly be the Wolf King. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.